Hello everyone, today's lecture is on chapter 4 from Lord of the Flies. We have 10 questions to answer, and of course the answers should be quotes from the text, because the text is the primary source for finding such answers. It is more reliable than finding something around. Let's start with the first one. What strange things happen at midday? The answer can be found at the beginning of this chapter. The boys adapt themselves to the life of the island. Their mornings are spent happily in play. But by noon, the sun's heat is intolerable, creating strange mirages, which they learn to ignore. And then comes a welcome coolness, accompanied by night, from the threat of which they huddle in the rickety shelters. The mirages create illusions that they take for reality by day, just as by night they take their tormented dreams for reality. Question number 2. How did the Littlands spend their day? The answer of such a question is found on page 49, in the middle of the page. They ate most of the day picking fruit where they could reach it and not particular about ripeness and quality. You see, the boys here transform into being primitive members of a savage tribe, because they don't care about the quality of the fruit and whether the fruit is ripe or not. And then we have 3 Littlands build and decorate sand castles. Henry, the biggest of them, and Joni and Percival, the 2 smallest boys. Joni is well built and has a natural belligerence. Percival is unattractive and badly adjusted. So they play on the beach and they build castles. Some of them are swimming, others, are wandering from place to place. These are the things that they get used to do in the daytime. Question number 3. In what ways does Roger seem cruel? The answer for such question found on page 50 of the second paragraph. Roger and Maurice came out of the forest. They were relieved from duty at the fire and had come down for a swim. Roger led the way straight through the castles, kicking them over, burying the flowers, scattering the chosen stones. So 3 things we have. Straight through the castles, it means he trods on the castles, and kicking them over, he destroys the castles. Burying the flowers, this is the second action, cruel action. Scattering the chosen stones. So these are the 3 actions done by Roger, indicating that Roger is really a cruel boy. So the case is apparent from the way in which Henry and Joni, instructed by the vicious behavior of the big guns, represented by Maurice and Roger, who kick sand in Percival's eyes, persist in persecuting a Lil who, like Piggy, is physically unattractive and unable to defend himself. Question number 4. What is Henry doing while Roger watches him? Henry tires of a play and moves along the beach, shadowed by the forbidding figure of Roger. In the waters of the lagoon are minute creatures which are drifted with the tide, scavenging in the detritus of landward life. Henry watches them and pokes about with the stick, absorbed and fit in controlling the tiny transparencies. Roger draws nearer. The evening breeze shakes down a cluster of large nuts about him, and by some association of ideas he picks up stones and throws them all around Henry, but without aiming to hit him. Henry watches to find out where the stones come from, but Roger is too quick in hiding behind a tree. Laughing at being teased, Henry wanders off, leaving Roger curiously excited by his taunting. So Roger pelts the water around the younger child with his stones, taunting him with superior power. We are given a gloss of Charles Darwin's bleak vision of the strong surviving at the expense of the weak. The answer of question number 4, found on page 50 at the bottom of the page. When Henry tired of his play, to the middle of the paragraph, and also we find it on page 51, the second paragraph. He poked about with a bit of a stick to the end of the paragraph. Question number 5. What does it mean when Roger felt the taboo of old life, of the old life? Also, what does it mean when Jack approached Roger, a darker shadow crept beneath Roger's skin? And what effect is Jack having on Roger? The answer of such a question lies in the similarity between the personality of those two boys, which is instinct evil inside both of them, and shown in this chapter through Roger's behavior and through Jack's behavior. The answer of the first part of this question, question number 5, is found on page 51 at the bottom of the page. Roger picked up a stone, aimed and threw it at Henry, threw it to the end of the paragraph. Here, the invisible yet strong was the taboo of old life. So what does it mean? This means that Roger is still under the influence of civilized life at home. Roger's arm is conditioned by his upbringing from aiming stones directly at Henry. But such conditioning, such civilization weakens as time passes, and ironically, the civilization that imposed it had not been able to control itself and is in ruins. So this is a reference for a future happening, that Roger is inclined to change his style, but not this time. The second part of the question now concerns Jack. Dark Shadow. Dark Shadow is evil, of course, and sneaks into Roger's personality. Jack is obsessionally preoccupied with hunting, and he significantly equates hunting with war. So, of course, he is dark in nature. Through camouflage, he disguises himself not simply from the others who are appalled by his transformation, but from himself too, so that he appears to himself as an awesome stranger. He hides behind this new mask, which liberated him from shame and self-consciousness into savagery, and his laughter ruins and turns into a bloodthirsty snarling. These are the words of the narrator, before which Bill falls silent from terror. The word snarling here is very important. Why? Because it strongly hints at a reversion, a transformation to an animal condition. So, this transformation indicates darkness into an animal, savage animal, barbarian figure. Now, question number 7. Describe the transformation that takes place after Jack paints his face. The mask serves a few purposes. List them. Such a question can be answered from page 52. In the middle of the page, Jack explained to Roger as he worked, "They don't smell me, they see me, I think. Something pink under the trees. He smeared on the clay. If only I'd some green." The first purpose of the mask is for hunting, like in the war. This is the first purpose, for hunting. Second purpose, on page 53, Jack planned his new face. He made one cheek and one eye socket to the end of the paragraph. So, This is the second type of a transformation, the second perspective. The third purpose here, which is on page 53, the same page, at the bottom of the page, before the last paragraph. Come on, I'll creep up and stab. The mask compelled them. The purpose here of the mask is that it enhances the behavior of those two boys, especially Jack, when said that, come on, I'll creep up and stab. The mask compelled them, forced them to hunt and kill. Now question number 7. What does Rath discover that upsets him greatly? The answer for such a question can be explained in the following words. Rath's ravenous watching of the disappearing ship, his agonized indecision as to whether, when climbing to the fire, he should go back for Peggy's spectacles, and finally his hysterical screaming for the ship to come back, all reveal how desperately he recognizing the need to be rescued, and equally their inability to cope on their own. His fury at the hunters for letting the fire go out is only intensified by the sight of them approaching with their call, chanting in triumph. Thus, the answer for such question is found on page 55. Smoke, smoke. Then, at the bottom of the page, the smoke was a tight little knot on the horizon, was uncoiling, and to the end of the page. And Ralph moved impatiently, still watching the ship. So these are the lines that are useful to find such answers. And also on page 57, in the middle of the page, they let the bloody fire go out. This what upsets Ralph mostly, when he describes the bloody fire as if he is so upset and annoyed and angry at the hunters who were so busy with the idea of hunting and forgetting everything about the idea of rescue. Question number 8. What do the hunters chant? The answer found on page 57 also. A procession had appeared to the end of the paragraph. This is the beginning of the answer, and then we have in the middle of the last paragraph on the same page, the chant was audible, but at that distance still wordless. And then the core answer found on page 55, on page 58, sorry. This is the song. Kill the pig, cut her throat, spill her blood. Now we move to question number 9. How does Jack's attack on Piggy and the breaking of one of the lenses in his spectacles symbolize the degeneration of the group? When Piggy, driven by despair, speaks out against him, Jack lashes out at him in fury because he dare not turn on Ralph. How fragile the things of civilization are is shown when Piggy's spectacles, retrieved by Simon, of course, whose actions are repeatedly gentle and understanding, are found to be broken on one side. So this is the interpretation of Piggy's spectacles being damaged for the second time by Jack. Now the last question, who finds Piggy's glasses for him? The answer is on page 60, in the middle of the page. He went to crouching and feeling over the rocks, but Simon, who got there first, found them for him. So it is Simon who found the spectacles for Piggy. So thank you for watching the video, and I hope that the answers suffice since they are related directly to the text itself. So I want you to learn how to find answers from the text itself rather than going around or finding answers from notes, because notes provide summary and commentary for the chapter, while the narrator's words, the author's words, really are more reliable, and there are a lot of details neglected by notes.